After a particularly delightful day spent playing Magic the Gathering with some good friends, I had some time to reflect on what actually allowed for it. Sometime after gathering a group together to play games online, we played Magic over Spell Table with physical cards, scratching the itch for 4-player Commander, but ultimately fizzling out when people tired of the few decks available for them to play. It led to an extended period of malaise where we all wanted to play Magic together, but nobody really wanted to deal with the pain in the ass of setting up a camera, lighting, etc., just to play with those same couple of decks. Enter Tabletop Simulator. I've owned Tabletop Simulator since 2020, midway through the stuff that happened that year. I originally bought a 4-pack for some friends and I to play board games on the off days in the now defunct Pathfinder session, but never really thought to actually use it for Commander. I knew about it, but it was always more of a, hey, that's cool, that I could play that at some nebulous point in the future, rather than any actual plans to use it. During an innocuous chat with some friends before I had upgraded to my new computer, we came to the realization that we could all play Tabletop Simulator together if only one more of those friends had a computer of their own. It wasn't until I had bought my new computer that things all started to come together. The laptop that I bought replaced my own mini PC, which I then passed down to my son. My son already had a mini PC, a cheaper Boz game PC with an Intel N95 or N100 or something, which I then sent to my friend from that call. Once the game and peripherals were purchased and set up on my friend's side, we found the next convenient time for us to get together and proceeded to play 3 games of EDH, each match with decks we had never seen before in real life. Decks that we spent no actual money to play with and would likely have never interacted with if we had had to. Cards that are normally prohibitively expensive to most people, now accessible to all who meet a few basic prerequisites. First, however, we need to identify the issue before we can solve it, even if the issue is as obvious as it is to most people clicking on this video. I see more and more often people lamenting the ever-increasing price of this game, whether you play physical or digital. Even if the prices weren't increasing, they are. The sheer volume of products being dumped on consumers is quickening its pace. This effectively increases the amount of purchasing decisions one has to face when deciding which, if any, aspects or formats of this game you want to interact with, logically leading to more sales from a given customer. Couple this with the additional customers brought about by Universes Beyond, sets which cost more in the first place and have an undeniable ability to draw in audiences from other fandoms, I think we can surmise how they keep breaking sales records. Whether it's the absurd prices on the secondhand market for must-have format staples, or the ridiculous amounts they want to charge for even the MSRP on Commander decks now, I think we can all agree that the game is quickly becoming more expensive. Whether or not you still find value in these increased prices isn't important for the point at hand, which is that there is a defined upward curve to these prices, and for all any of us can tell, there sure doesn't seem to be any reason for it to drop, at least not anytime soon. As these prices continue to soar, it starts slowly isolating players from formats that they used to enjoy, or new players, drawn in from the last foray into another company's IP, deciding to bow out of further investment into Magic before they get in too deep. At a given player's financial limit, it becomes increasingly difficult to justify continued investment into a game where they find themselves priced out, especially when they'd like to keep playing and staying current the way they always used to be able to. I mean, there is always going to be a price too high for these cardboard rectangles for everyone, no matter the wealth at their disposal. Upon seeing some of the prices recently for new products and how it keeps breaking records for best-selling sets, it's apparent to everyone that there's appetite for the continued release of these products. But I propose a new relationship between WotC and the customers who've dropped the game due to the increasing inaccessibility of it. Wizards can continue making cards more expensive and can continue slicing pieces of their player base off, while the whales and investors can keep funding the creative department for everyone else. For those of us already priced out, or even toying with the notion that Magic is becoming too expensive, let me now turn your attention again to Tabletop Simulator. First, you can't assume you have a PC. The only assumption I will make is that you have some way to display a screen that isn't a phone. So, the first prerequisite is some kind of display that can take an HDMI or USB-C input. The second is that you still buy booster boxes or an equivalent amount of Magic products somewhat frequently, or the comparison won't make as much sense, or be as alluring. Finally, you need to have internet access and be in a country that can access Steam unfettered. Now, assuming this is all true, you can go right now on Amazon or a similar, hopefully less shitty marketplace and buy a mini PC capable of running Tabletop Simulator competently. The affordable ones won't run it at 4K 120 FPS or anything, but most available will easily push 1080p with only minor graphical adjustments. For the price of a Final Fantasy Play Booster box, or in other words, the high end of this particular price range, you can get an AMD Ryzen 7 5700U mini PC with 16 gigs of RAM, an entire computer, one that can easily handle Tabletop Simulator, along with quite a few other games you might want to play on it too. In order to actually use this one though, you have to add the price of a cheaper commander deck, as for around 40 USD, you can buy a cheap keyboard and mouse and Tabletop Simulator to complete the experience. Then on the lower end of this arbitrary range, there's an Intel PC that, while slower than the AMD PC shown just a second ago, is also cheap enough to fit the price of the budget mouse and keyboard and Tabletop Simulator into the sticker price of the Final Fantasy Play Booster Box. I know non-Universes Beyond sets aren't supposed to be as expensive, but given that the more expensive set is the highest selling of all time, people are obviously buying products at and around this price point. I'm only advocating you take a break from one purchase, as beyond that, you'll know if this suits your fancy or not. When you actually get past the purchase and setup of your new Infinite Magic device, you'll learn that Tabletop Simulator has a variety of other use cases and functions too. You can buy officially supported board games on the DLC store, or just download community mods from the Steam Workshop for other games that you might have seen while scrolling through, looking for your own particular flavor of Commander Table, once again made by somebody passionate and within the same community as you. We should all be grateful to these folks who build and keep these things maintained for free. Upon actually opening up a game at a table with a card importer, you'll see just how handy of a tool it can be when theory crafting or making upgrades to existing decks you own, too. It's quick and easy to make adjustments to existing decks, or you can use the best virtual deck builder you know of elsewhere on the interwebs and import the raw text to playtest it within Tabletop Simulator. Most of the good mods add in various quality of life features too, to improve the fluidity of the gameplay experience. Things like cloning cards and tokens in a couple clicks, mousing across the table and zooming in on a card, or singular buttons to draw, scry, and mill cards. It really goes a long way to make what seems initially like a tedious process actually turn out to feel intuitive and convenient. Playing Magic this way has also eased the difficulty of scheduling fiascos inherent to normally meeting up with a playgroup. No longer does one friend's house need to be large enough to facilitate the rest of the friend group comfortably. No longer do people need to figure out ways to and from the playgroup, and no longer do you need to set aside enough time to justify the trip and prep to that friend's house to begin with. You don't have to worry about if that one friend showered after last week, or if anyone isn't contributing to the snack pile. Now it's as simple as everyone getting together in Discord or a group text to play a game or two when everyone has time, and since the amount of time required has decreased dramatically, ultimately leads to more games played, too. This can be used to continue an existing weekly meeting when otherwise inconvenient, or to start a new one up with friends on the other side of the world. All of these perks come alongside the ability to use every card ever. Seriously, if it's on Scryfall, you have access to it. Every Commander Precon, every tournament winning list, every special San Diego Comic-Con limited edition unique and Richard Garfield wedding card available at your fingertips. All in a format wherein the cost of a card is irrelevant, as these same benefits apply to everyone playing the game, not just the wealthy ones or those who picked up vital game pieces when they were new 30 years ago. It completely circumvents the proxy discussion and the pay-to-win discussion simultaneously. This also ignores the fact that this mini PC also does everything else a computer does. Because it's a computer. You get this access to unlimited Magic for the price of, or cheaper than, a widely bought Magic product, and you just get a computer thrown in for free. It isn't just a computer in name either, as these little fellows are also quite speedy. Suffice to say, it's likely that it'll do most web browsing and office work snappier and quicker than your smartphone. Because it's a computer. But what's the catch? Honestly, I can't really think of any beyond whatever cards you might have pulled in the booster box you didn't buy. If you like playing physical cards too much to give it up entirely, don't. Keep playing physical too, and just use this as a tool. Playtest with new cards so you know what to keep an eye out for. build your decks in-game to try out pricey upgrade options, and explore new decks entirely without ever disassembling the ones that you already have sleeved up. This is the price of a single play booster box, not even a collector's edition, so I can't imagine there being a problem with the price. If you already have a computer capable of running Tabletop Simulator, don't buy a new one. Just play it on that. If you don't have a computer or one able to run the game, this is also a plus in those regards too. If you don't like the interface of the mod you and your friends are using, then look around the workshop. There's bound to be another one that suits your tastes better. This isn't like somebody telling you to change hobbies or invest into something pricey, like Warhammer, which also requires near constant investment to stay relevant too. I won't say it too loudly, but there's ways to play Warhammer on there too if you dig a little bit. In every situation I can think of, you're better off with access to this game, even if it's only to augment the hobby you're already invested in. Aside from the matchmaking, which is always being accused of all sorts of things anyway, Arena can't offer a single other compelling reason to use it over Tabletop Simulator. No worry about which formats are supported or which cards they might bring to Arena. No dealing with a battle pass or which cards to purchase with whatever wild cards you could scrape together. No dealing with alchemy. The tutorial is useless for teaching anything more than the most basic of rules, but even then, a friend at a table with you could teach you quicker and answer any specific questions you could have. It's better than Magic Online, as you don't have to pay for the cards you use or worry about what IPs can cross the physical-digital boundary. I'll admit, beyond that, Magic Online is probably the best digital client supported by Wizards from a consumer perspective, but it's also the one I'm least familiar with. Yet again though, even if you find redeeming factors in these games, then play them too. The mini PCs I recommended before are perfectly capable of both of these. I just can't help but be amazed by the value proposition offered by Tabletop Simulator though, so it ruins the other two for me when I decide to play Virtual Magic. While this video has been mainly talking about Tabletop Simulator, there are absolutely other alternatives as well. You can use sites like Moxfield and Cockatrice to simulate a solo game board that you can then stream to something like Spelltable or Discord. These are absolutely more technically challenging to accomplish though, and require an additional monitor and such. I like the quality of life features available through the various mods on Tabletop Simulator, though I can also see why others might want to play virtual decks against other people who are playing physically through Spelltable. Given the current state of products being released by WotC though, I have to at least attempt to give people options and alternatives to spending increasingly ludicrous amounts of money for the privilege of playing a card game. It makes dealing with the quickening release cycle more tolerable when you're not worried about which products you can afford, or how much new card coming out would help a deck you have. It's about gaining back your independence as a customer. You don't have to buy every single new product, or risk losing out. You can take a break from the release cycle without ever being far enough away to feel whiplash upon returning. It's now possible to see a powerful new card and not worry about how ungodly expensive it's going to wind up being on the secondhand market. You can finally regain some of that lost wonder you had when you first started playing. I suspect because of Tabletop Simulator and the wonderful modders who created the table and components my friends and I played with, I'm going to wind up more interested in a game I had all but given up on. I already catch myself watching more and more Magic videos, just without the constant sour taste in my mouth of seeing products for which I could not justify the purchase of. I can talk with my friends about Magic again, and retain their interest because they too can justify interacting with the game again. By no stretch of the imagination does this mean I like WotC or Hasbro, nor will I likely ever start buying their products again, but I feel like I can return to associating with the cards and the game at least. If you find yourself in a similar situation where you'll still enjoy some Magic, just at a safe distance from these bloodthirsty corporations, then thank a local whale next time you're at your local game store. It won't be long before, if it's not already the case, their money goes on to pay for our enjoyment of the game. They already likely fund the majority of the sales we see continuing to break records, and WotC already almost exclusively advertises to them now. If you know of any personally, and you don't like to play with them, as their wallets always seem to get in the way of a fun game, then suggest they, too, pick up Tabletop Simulator and play a few matches. They might be a genuinely fun person to enjoy a game with when they don't feel the need to flex their collection every few seconds.